Hello, everybody. Well, today I am with Chiwis founder and CEO, Sarah Goodman, and she is making waves in the CBG space, and she's doing it without spending her weekends at the farmer's market. So kudos to you. She's a registered nutritionalist, and she'd been making these kiwi chips in her home kitchen for years and always got the same response from friends and family. These are so different from chewy dried fruit. Where can I buy them? At the time, she was a CEO of Vital Sins, a consumer health technology startup, and she was ready for a change. And as a serial entrepreneur, she was always on the lookout for a new business venture. With the response she got for her Kiwi chips, she thought she might have a great business opportunity on her hands. So in 2020, she went after the concept full time and launched Chiwis. Sarah was uniquely positioned to apply the growth mindset she honed over 7 years in the tech space to her CPG, which stands for those you don't know, consumer packaged goods business, an industry that typically moves at a slower pace. In less than 3 years, Chewy's has gone from being zero on shelves to 1,500 store shelves, which is incredible. Whole Foods Canada was their very first Chewy's customer, and Chewy's has experienced 400% growth year over year, with favorable projections to beat that number by the end of 2023, which is really freaking outstanding, by the way. So I'm going to say it's safe to say those Chewy chips from your home kitchen are definitely making waves in the market. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, this is wonderful. So can you tell us about your journey, like how it started and how it's taken you to where you are today with this incredible company that's just growing like crazy?
Sure. I never would have thought I would have been kind of serial entrepreneur. This is my fourth business venture. I wasn't a huge fan of school growing up. I just liked to learn on my own pace. So I was very social, but I just wasn't super duper into it. Ended up going to school for a year for journalism after post-secondary, and I just thought this isn't it. And I went to visit a friend who was living in Whistler. Went to visit her for 2 months. I lived in Ontario and Toronto. Always thought I was going to be like a condo girl, gonna like live in the city. And I came to visit my friend in Whistler, and I lived in Whistler for 5.5 years.
Oh, wow.
And I basically served and bartended and snowboarded. And after 5.5 years, I was like, oh no, I need to go use my brain cells again. And I went back to school, and I went to school at Capilano University in Vancouver, and I did a business management course, and I was like so ready for school, and it was a whole different experience. I loved it, and I put my all into it, and it worked. So I just needed the motivation, I guess.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing some practicums in the music business. So I did practicums at record labels and a like talent shop, promotional shop. And I ended up leaving that schooling experience, starting my own business in the music space. And so I did publicity, like tour publicity, radio publicity, lots of different things for independent musicians in Canada. And it was really fun and cool. And I could work from home in my sweatpants, but it wasn't very rewarding. And I come from a family with lots of like medical. My sister's a nurse, my dad's a doctor, lots of like medical, helping people kind of vibe. And I felt that I wanted that. And so I went back to school and became a nutritionist, and I started a business after that. I also, when I was studying nutrition, became a personal trainer as well, just because I thought, whole package. Started consulting. And it was funny, the other day on Facebook, I got one of those reminders, and I always thought Chiwis was my first food thing. But when I was consulting in nutrition, I used to make granola, and I had it all labeled, everything. And I made a bunch of money selling this granola
Oh, no way.
at my office. And it came up, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess that was my first
Now
food
you're like, wait a
foray.
second. Maybe there's something.
And when I was doing the nutrition thing, and it was good, but I ended up getting asked to help with this tech company that was developing a product for regular people. And they had it was a mathematician and a doctor who had developed a method to measure this heart health metric and brain health metric that wasn't available to regular people, but through the pulse and the finger. And they had no idea how to make it accessible for regular people. And I thought, okay, I think I'm working with those people already, and I think I know how to like build this brand so that it's not so scientific. And that kind of snowballed into very quickly taking the reins on that company and doing everything other than like coding and writing patents. Wow. And in that, I learned everything that has like built up to when I decided I need to do something else and maybe I thought about this favorite snack of mine, developing Chewies kind of on evenings and weekends, because I wasn't sure if it would work.
Mhm.
everything I did in that role in tech, building a product, like barcoding, branding, digital marketing, fundraising, like financial projections, all of it helped to make Chiwis kind of an easier, less bumpy path to
Yeah,
start.
no
Yeah.
kidding. And then so when you started making chewies, can you tell me how you make them? You just like, is it like fruit? We used to have a fruit dryer growing up. My dad made it, so I don't think it was a really good one. It burnt all the fruit, but still we ate them.
Mhm.
But it was like just like a mesh type fruit dryer. So that was you just kind of put them in the oven. That was your original kind of recipe, or how did you do it?
So when I was studying nutrition, I bought like a pretty good dehydrator.
Okay,
It's called
gotcha.
Excalibur. I think you get them on Amazon, but they're quite expensive and they're really good because they heat from the back instead of heating from the bottom. So that's when like you burn things. So if
Yeah.
it heats from the back like a wall, you'll often get a more uniform dried experience with your fruit. So I used to make kiwi chips all the time because as a nutritionist, I knew how healthy kiwis are, and I knew that 60% of the vitamins and minerals are in the skin,
Mhm.
and people often throw that out. And so
Right.
I just thought I really like a intense flavored snack. I love like hot sauce. I love like sweet and tangy, and that's exactly what these taste like. So I with a mandolin would like slice them super thin, put them on drying racks, and then dry them until they were crispy. And then when I would take them, and they were really like an adventure snack, like
Mhm.
going into the mountains, having
Yeah.
something light, sweet. Like I definitely have a sweet tooth, but like really nutritious and full of fiber and filling. I honestly had them in my bag for like 10 years. And then when I was ready to, I was like, maybe this could work. I did a package design with 99 designs, the like
Yeah.
design
Yeah.
competition online. And I printed out like, I thought it was the coolest bag ever also. And this was still I was running this tech company, but I was like, let's just see, do some consumer testing. And so I got these bags printed in China, got like 100 of them printed and sent to my house. I bought a heat sealer from Amazon, and I would make the kiwi chips, put them in the bags, and bring them on trips on anywhere. And I'd bring them out of my bag, and people would be like, "Oh, what's that?" And I'd say, "Oh, I bought it at Whole Foods. What do you think?" Because then they would
Oh,
not
so cool.
like they would
Yes.
give me
Smart.
real, authentic feedback and
Yeah.
take this glad bag full of snacks I obviously made, and you're going to hurt my feelings if you say that they're gross. I wanted them to be able to hurt my feelings and not feel bad about it,
Yeah.
which is a really good way to test as well.
Really smart.
With those bags, I also, once I got that initial kind of feedback, when I was thinking about, okay, so the bag design in general, like people like the snack, okay, what about this bag design? I think is the coolest thing in the world. I did a consulting with this one woman named Andrea Gray Grant. She's from Good to Grow, really great, like super, super veteran of the food space. I went to her for 3 hours asking a million questions. But one of the best things she told me out of like a bunch of wonderful tidbits was to take the bag and put it on the shelf where you think it would be like located in Whole Foods or wherever, and take a bunch of pictures. Go home and look at them. You're gonna know
Yeah.
exactly what's wrong with this bag. So that was huge. And then I would give the bags to people and say, like, give it to your partner or your kids and film them with it. And people would be like, oh, cool. And they'd open it and it would say kiwi chips huge on the front. And people would be like, open it and be like, oh my God, it's kiwi. And I was like, oh no, like you have 3 seconds to get someone's attention
Yeah.
when they're walking by. And so like our bag that now like is
Yeah.
this, it
Yeah.
grabbed, like you can see it on there.
Yeah.
It's
It
easy
looks
to
really
read.
great.
It's self-evident. And like we launched when I did finally dive in and launch during COVID, like I had to rely on branding because
Yeah.
there was no
No taste testing
demo
allowed.
thing.
That is so
But yeah,
cool.
it stemmed from a snack that I just made all the time. And I feel really lucky too, because with food, or any kind of packaged good, I somehow got this like sweet spot of a light product, a product that has a long shelf life,
Mm.
and something that's simple and easy to understand. Like there's a lot of things that are not that in the end, if you started at a farmer's market or something with a beverage or something that is like, you don't know, like you need that time to be able to sell it on shelf.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just lucked out huge with choosing this.
And for expiry dates, how long, what's your expiry date for them?
We have 18 months.
Oh, that's really good. I
Yeah.
mean, usually isn't food under a year sometimes, usually? Or,
It depends. It
yeah,
depends.
I guess because a
Like,
dried good though would give you a longer shelf life too.
yeah,
Correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
And like we have oxygen absorbers in our bag, and like because we take so much of the water out, it could even be longer. Like the way that you do shelf life testing is you can either do an accelerated one where it's like they can do maybe like 3 months in a month, putting it in some chamber, but really the best way is to keep it. And so we've only been in business like 2.5, less than 3 years. So we're
Crazy.
still testing.
That's so crazy. And then so you also do upcycled. So can you explain to what upcycled fruit is to everybody who doesn't know what upcycled fruit is?
Yeah, so upcycled fruit is just ugly fruit that the grocery store won't take. Um, I wish I had one out,
So do they
but like,
literally like just any fruit that's ugly, they just put it aside? Is that what they do? Like every grocery
yeah,
store?
yeah.
Really?
So when you go to the grocery store and you look at a kiwi, they're all gonna look like a little like oval or egg shape,
Yeah.
all of them. But the ones that we get, and they're all they're from California, and the misshapen ones that grow are put on a different pile. And like if they're not used by somebody, they're then thrown in the trash. So some of the kiwi chips that you'll see are kind of like oblong, like there's all these different shapes of them. They're still perfect. It's not like the upcycled fruit is like, oh, it's like about to go bad. It's not
Yeah.
that in any way. So we use upcycled fruit for over 50% of our products, and as much of the fruit as possible for all of them. So using the skin, using the core, using the rind. So we have mango chips that have the skin. We've got orange chips that use the rind. Our pineapple chips have the core. And
Yeah.
just by doing that, plus using upcycled, which we're always looking for more, we're
Yeah.
about to launch. Well, we have one new SKU that's in the works, and then we have 3 that are coming out in like less
That's
than a month.
amazing.
But we've saved over 220,000 pounds of fruit from landfills already.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And when it's upcycled fruit, is it also more economical for you to also purchase it as well? Or is it pretty well end up being kind of the same thing across the board?
It's still expensive,
Yeah.
but it does allow for a lower retail store price, which is
That's
what we
nice.
want. But I think, Chewy's, it is a higher end product.
No,
All we
100%.
want is for people to be able to for it to be accessible. But it's still you factor in so
Yeah.
many different things. Like I
Yeah.
think I saw an Instagram the other day where somebody was talking about, people thinking a shirt that's $100 is too expensive. And this woman was like, I make these products, like, I just want to explain to you exactly what goes into this when it's not fast fashion. And like when you're making a product that's a careful product,
Yeah.
you could order a bunch of stuff from China and throw it in a bag, sure. But
Yeah.
like we don't want to do that. We have a non-GMO good product that is carefully tested and that we're proud of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think there's so much truth to that. Like we do get what we pay for. And I think I can say that with clothing I bought over the years or anything I've bought over the years, you buy something cheap, eventually it's just going to kind of break down. And so
Yeah.
you want to obviously have good quality, whether it be supplements or food or whatever it is, whatever we're putting on and in our body, definitely for sure. And so I wanted to also talk about this because I love this in your bio. You talk about you applied growth mindset that you learned in the tech space. What does that mean for one? What was the growth mindset you learned? I think I might have an idea. And how have you used that with Chewy's and to get you where you are now with the brand?
So like I took a really long time to really dive into Chiwis because I could have that the company that I was with, Vital Signs, still around, and it could have been cushy and fine, but I knew I wanted to do something else, and I was good at what I was doing there, but Chiwis is like so evidently mine, and
Mhm.
it's so honest, and I think when I explain that to people, it comes through.
Yeah.
For the growth mindset in tech, like you are, if you're not growing consistently, and this is like not 400% growth, but much higher, then often people in tech will have like venture capitalist money, and you're always raising money and you're always trying to grow, and um, it's very fast paced, and that could be because it's a lot of software companies, it's a lot of things that can move very quickly. And so I came into food and I was just like, okay, let's get this going. Let's make it happen now. And people are just like, oh no, you have to wait for this. Oh no, there's like, it was just, I was like, I'm gonna have a panic attack here. This is crazy. Like I can't operate at this speed. I have 2 speeds. It's either going super fast or like Netflix. That's it. That's it.
I'm probably there with you on that one.
So I came into food, and I remember talking to a bunch of people and I did my research. I talked to people from like the distribution side, the entrepreneur side, the investor side. And, I would talk to people who are in food and they're like, no, just like start slow and do this and this and this. And I'd be like, no, I think I'm going to go do this. And they'd be like, oh no, you can't do that. And I was like, well, I think I'm just going to do it. And I like raising money. Like I've raised about $1 million for Chiwis, and I did it on a document that's quite a financial document that's quite often used in the tech space called a SAFE. So it's like a simple agreement for future equity, which you raise on a future valuation instead of raising at the valuation you would be at and then diluting yourself a ton doing something like that wasn't happening a lot.
Mhm.
And I'd raised money in the tech company, and as like a young-ish white woman, it sucked. It was so awful, and I expected the same result from this. And but when I started pitching it, I was just like, oh my gosh, I think it just like shined through that it was so much, I don't
Yeah.
know, people got it. And
Yeah.
I think that with growing like the 400% year over year, it is huge, and that is really big for food.
Oh,
Um, like even this year though, I said to my team, listen, I know we're like really trying to hit these goalposts, but I don't want us to be going crazy. Like I still want us to be having fun, and I want us to enjoy this time. And I think maybe let's just focus on being cash flow positive, because that's also a very good story. Because a
yeah.
lot of these times when you're growing, yeah, you're growing a lot, but it's because you're spending so much. And in the end, you want to be able to have control of your business, and you can make your own decisions. And when you're cash flow positive, like that's
Yeah.
great. I said that to them on like a Thursday. And then on the Friday, Costco California is like, we're in. And I was like, hey guys, scratch everything I said. We're all gonna have the worst summer of our lives.
Oh, that's so cool.
But we are cash flow positive now, which is great. But it's always, a struggle. But with me, like I've been very transparent about my goals with Chiwis and where I want to go. And like when you raise money, people want to know, how am I going to get my money back? And
Yeah.
I want to grow Chiwis to a specific size, and then sell it to someone who can help distribute
100%.
and get these products to more people around the world.
Yeah.
I don't expect to be able to do that with my like
And,
4-person team.
do you have do you have a timeline? Have you given yourself like 5 years, 10 years, 10 years? Is there like a
I'm
sweet
in a
spot?
2 to 5.
2 to 5? That's incredible. Good for you. That's
Who knows what'll happen? Who knows what's gonna happen with the world? Like even
yeah.
the whole time Chiwis has been alive, this is just wild out there.
Yeah.
Like things could all flip. I have no idea if someone came in and could help just skyrocket this thing, then who knows? We're doing pretty well. I think we've really proved that we're scrappy and lean. I think like again, my time in tech, really, we didn't have a lot of money in that company. It was always pretty like much hand to mouth. And I'm not gonna go in and think, oh, we're busy, I'm gonna get someone to build a website, it's gonna be 70 grand, or I'm gonna go pay a marketing agency like a $7,000 retainer. Like I just won't do that. I'm like, we are lean, not cheap, but like
Yeah.
I want this to be uh surviving, thriving until whenever we hit that goal.
And not just spending to spend. I think that's
Yeah.
the thing too, because there's always so many ideas that get thrown at you, or like things that people want you to buy into. Like we're kind of talking a little bit before that, be it with digital marketing or SEO or all these things. And you're
Yeah.
constantly, given these opportunities, you're like,
And like as a founder, you're like, ooh, bright shiny object,
yeah,
like, ooh,
yeah,
bright shiny object.
for sure.
Maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. And you can get so lost doing that. And I'm definitely like, right now we're like launching products often for bigger brands is very, very expensive. Like it's
Yeah.
super expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? We made the call last week, and I know we're going to talk about it in a bit, but we're doing like it's kind of like a holiday product, but I think it's going to be a forever
I think
product.
it's a forever product.
But we're like, okay, we're gonna have 2 varieties of it. And then me and Carla, who's my director of brand, we're at my house doing some testing, and they sent us a third kind of chocolate. And we're like, let's just test it. And they're like, well, damn, we got to do 3 now. So we're launching 3 new SKUs. And it's not just like online, we're launching them into like London Drugs. We're gonna launch them to Save On, like,
It's huge.
and yeah, for us, we have that in our, like, we can manage that, kind of just doing a pivot and be like, oh, you know what, we're gonna do this, so we're just gonna go for it. Um, I don't know. I think a lot of the reason that Chiwis has been successful is because I've just been like really naive and ignorant.
Well, and just gone for things. I think that's the thing too, is you have the ability to, because you're a smaller company, you have the ability to pivot and do stuff fast. It's not like there's a 15, 20, 30 people changing command
Yeah.
where you have to meet and have a discussion. It's like, no, I want to do it. And that's kind of the fun part, I think, about being a smaller scale business, is being able to pivot and do something, and then you have great results from it, right? And be
Yeah.
able to change things up. So that's really cool. I do have a question. So because I just thought about this. So you mentioned the air dryer, and I know I should have asked this before. So you did like massive air dryers? Is that what you had like to was that what have you made a manufactured huge fruit dryers?
So when I was like, I'm doing it. I can
Yeah.
do it. And I've said this on like other podcasts too. I do feel like there's been a lot of good luck and timing with Chiwis, and like that has really helped things. There's just like a few things that have been good and timely for Chiwis and me. So when I was like, I'm doing it, I rented this like tiny corner of a kitchen in Squamish. The Squamish Water Kefir ladies let me have some of their space.
Yeah.
I raised a tiny friends and family round and bought one commercial dryer.
Okay.
And I had when I was doing all my research, I'd gone to this course that was like how to get to your product on retail store shelves. And the president of a distribution company was speaking at it. And he said his email after, and I sent him an email and I was like, hey man, I know how this goes. I haven't launched my product yet, but I'll get it into 100 stores. Would it be cool if I reached out to you when that happens? This
Right.
is the bag. There was the 200 kiwi chips. This is my story, blah, blah, blah. And he emailed back and he was like, oh, he's like, it's evident that you come from marketing and tech. Like, no one has a bag that looks like this. He didn't even try it. This is all over email. And he's like, we'll take you on. So we had distribution prior to any stores having the product.
Wow.
And so he had an in-house broker, and his in-house broker was working with me. And I was like, hey, I'm starting, but like, let's go super slow, like small independent stores. First time, just me. So they called me in 2 days and they're like, hey, great news. Whole Foods is interested. And I was like, oh my
That's a
God,
big
like,
story.
yay, shit. Like what?
It's like
Um,
Mecca.
and so I was in this facility, mandolin, hand
Oh
slicing
my God.
with this big ass dryer. And I had like my husband, my boyfriend at the time, husband now, friends, and like, get in here and like slice
Slice.
these kiwis.
You love me, you'll slice fruit.
And so I started, and I was still doing like R&D basically, because this is not the same machine I had on my countertop. And
Gosh.
oh man, there were so many days where I would be in there for 14 hours. I'd come in the morning and like they weren't right. And I'd have to not throw them out. I would give them away to people or like something. But I put out that first Whole Foods order and then I realized like this is such a stupid business idea. Like what an idiot I am for doing this. If Whole Foods wanted 1,000 cases, I'd never be able to do it. And that like came exactly when COVID started. And I was like, I'm using this to my advantage. And I was like, distributor, Whole Foods, like, oh my God, pandemic. They're like, oh my God, pandemic. And I was like, just have to pause for like a quick minute and sort some stuff out. And they're like, yeah, totally. Like, yeah, fine. And so I spent like 3 to 5 months looking for the perfect co-manufacturers that had those huge, huge facilities
Oh,
to
very
make the
cool.
product and make it better than I could and make like tens of thousands of pounds for me at a time. And it was really cool too, because during the beginning of COVID, we had all these snacks coming to our house because like I wasn't flying places. Like it was
Yeah.
Zoom meetings, it was samples
Which
being
is
sent.
nice too, because then it's inexpensive. Like when we think
Yeah,
about
it was.
flying here and flying there.
It took some time to find the people that we are working with, and we're always looking at other options as well, because like backups. But I totally pivoted and changed the business model so that I wasn't touching the product.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to touch it at all after that. But
Yeah.
then I started realizing, because we did all the packaging in British Columbia to be local, we were paying someone to do that. And it was so expensive that I ended up deciding to rent this facility that we're in right now. Downstairs is a big packing floor, and we do a lot of our packing here, but we're moving a bunch of it to California because now we're growing
Nice.
quickly.
Yeah.
But we have the ability to do research and development here. We can pack a lot of products here. We're doing all of the chocolate stuff here.
Smart. That's
Yeah.
smart. Well, I mean, one of the, and speaking kind of like talking about growth, I looked at some stats and they were saying like CBG categories saw the largest increase in sale compared to previous years. And the number of shoppers buying grocery items during this has rise 2 points to 17% this past year. So, I mean, you've obviously kicked ass on that 17%, but you've had incredible growth as well. And they're just saying that, consumer packaged goods category itself is really growing. What do you think why do you think that is? Why is it just because people want grab and goes? Is because people are now, especially the natural, I think good natural healthy products too as well. This is also as preempt that by saying this is natural healthy products too.
Yeah, I think people are just really looking for something that they can feel good about eating.
Yeah.
And we don't market Chiwis as a health food. We're like, this is a tasty snack that's also healthy.
Yeah.
And really like what we're trying to do is communicate through the brand that like when you see a Chiwis product, you can feel really comfortable eating the whole bag or feeding it to your family. And I think branding has a lot to do with it. When you go into grocery stores, you can see like there's not a lot of product everywhere. Like people are just buying. So for us, like we've definitely growing, but we haven't really even scratched the surface of Canada, to be honest. Like we haven't
You
paid list.
everywhere out here. Sorry to interrupt you, but I see you everywhere out here. I mean, yeah, I'm in stores every day. So I see you in all like Whole Foods and Nature's Fairs and Choices and everything. So it's
Yeah,
really exciting too.
we're in a lot of those stores we like, and we've been really lucky to get into those and stay in them. But you know, there's a if you go into a superstore, like a Loblaw store, independent, like all those brands have paid
Oh, it's insane. It's
crazy amounts of money.
insane.
And honestly, if I ever really make it and get to talk in places where those people are, I want to tell them that that's just the biggest scam.
It's the biggest, and what's funny is I was talking to somebody the other day and they were complaining about the grocery stores making money. And I was like, what people need to understand is that the grocery stores make money on vendors like us who pay a shit ton of money to have our product on their shelves and buy into their marketing programs.
Yeah.
So they're almost like these large grocery stores. I almost kind of look at them as marketing companies that
Yeah.
sell groceries,
It's
right?
like double dipping. And
Right? It makes
go
so much money.
take those listing fees and give them to Coca-Cola, sure. But like
Yeah.
you're gonna ask me for $30,000 for each
100%
flavor,
per
and then you're gonna
product.
take 35% of the profit. Like
And then if it
I
doesn't sell, they just kick you out and then you lose all
I
your
just
money. And it's like,
I
what?
just can't. So we have never paid one, and
Good for you.
I'm proud of that. But like if we wanted to, it could potentially increase a lot of doors,
Yeah.
or they could say it's not selling as fast as we want and then kick you out,
And
you
then you
know?
lose the money, right? I know. It's really
Like, and
terrible.
for everybody's hurting. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but like summer was very slow, and
Summer was,
people are trying, and it's sad because I've been seeing that there's a lot of brands that are closing up shop, and it's tough. Like like having just a good cash flow reserve and being really, really aware of where like your money's going is
yeah.
it's scary. And then yeah, someone comes along and it's like, oh, I'll just take $130,000, please, real quick for your products. Ugh.
Well, and even to not have what I've always wondered, we have the big companies, of course, but not to have like and there are some of the smaller chains that do have it, right? But to have a pilot program or something for, that if you're making under this much, then, this is a program we have to get you guys in the store so you can, start taking part of it. Because I think in the long run, it actually ends up hurting them too, because then they don't have the cool, fun brands, because the cool, fun brands who are smaller aren't going to pay that kind of money. Because I know it's the same way with me. And most people are just like floored when they find out it's $30,000 per SKU to get it on their shelves. And when I walk down their aisles of, I'm like, oh my gosh, they make so much money, these grocery stores, from all the vendors paying to have their products there. So when people see these record numbers, I'm like, you don't know the backbone of the real story too, what's happening, how much money they're making off vendors to carry their products, right? So I know that's something, yeah. When you tell people, they're just like, what's happening? So,
I know.
but so what have you, considering from where you started and where you are now, what have you learned? What do you think has been one of your kind of biggest, I guess, lessons you could take from growing Chiwis to where it is today? If there,
Um, it's like every week is different, honestly. And if you had told me 3 years ago that like now I would be, in Costco in California, and like in Costco in general, anywhere,
yeah, that's huge. It's
or like
huge.
it's just there, I've said yes a lot, and I think I've stayed really true to who I am as well. And I don't know, like I learned a lot in my past roles, and I think I've brought it all here, not been taken advantage of by like certain kinds of like opportunities or people. There's lots of like sharky folks out there, but I I don't know. I'm learning like so much every single week. It's wild, and just trying to also stay grounded. I feel like with founders too, it's been really hard for me to celebrate wins and successes because we're so goal oriented that it's, like I would have never thought Costco California would reach out. They did. We got in there, and now I'm like, well, why haven't they ordered again? Why aren't we in like the other areas in like the Bay Area? Like we're in Southern California. All these stupid things. When
Yeah.
3 year ago, me would just be like, holy shit.
Yeah. No, it's
This
so
makes
true.
sense.
It's so true.
So I've still not learned how to do that. But I think just like growing a team and creating a culture that's really fun. I I I don't know. I'm not sure what the biggest learning would be.
Yeah.
Just to
Well,
stay calm, trying to stay calm.
trying to stay calm through the whole entire process. I totally get that. And I totally agree with you on celebrating the win. Somebody, where was I? I can't remember where I was, and somebody gave me a hug, and I hadn't seen them in a while. And they're like, I hope you're really, I'm watching everything you're doing, and I hope you're taking time to celebrate everything you're accomplishing. And I'm like, nope, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got my list. The minute that gets crossed off, it's like, oh my God, I got like 15 other things I have to do.
Yeah.
Off I go, right? So it is interesting sometimes when you sit back, because I have these moments of, because it's all me and it's everything on the line, and it's, and I'm sure you can resonate with this. And so, but a lot of the times that's all I'm thinking about is I just have to keep going forward, and I'm not there enough and I'm not fast enough. And then when I do sit there and look back a bit, I'm like, oh, I guess I am doing okay. Right? I guess I am
Yeah.
kind of
Like
doing all right.
I started advising some people, like some entrepreneurs have come to me now because they're like, oh, could you help me with like
Yeah.
branding or like or raising? And so I took a bit of time for consulting. And if any one of them would have done XYZ, that I
Yeah.
would feel proud of them. It's very hard. And I think that even if I did hit that end goal and we sold the company and all this, I would still feel like a complete fraud and like I don't know anything.
Now, do you think that is, because that's a good question. I mean, do you think that's a woman thing too? Because I know I did do that as well, right? I still always feel like that whole imposter thing. Do you think it's a woman thing? Because that whole quote of like, have the confidence of like a 40-year-old white male.
Yeah.
And
I
I
do
wonder,
think it is,
right?
especially working in tech. Like these guys, I saw people just raising like tons of money and making stupid decisions and just feeling like being cocky as all hell.
Yeah.
And women, I think that I don't know the exact stat, but like women-led companies are also like have far more profit than male-led companies. We're a lot more careful, and maybe it's because we're just like so scared of failing.
Yeah. So there's maybe an upside to that. Upside to the fear
Yeah.
of failure. And so do you have any advice that a mentor has given you that's I know you kind of shared one earlier, but is there any best advice a mentor has given you over the years?
Um, I think like I have such a good advisory board. I have 4 individuals who like are all there for a reason. They're so awesome. And I think having people that you can go to for and just say like I'm worried about this, I'm excited about this. Like I meet with them every month. We're actually all having dinner tomorrow night.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, it can be a lonely experience doing what you're doing, and lots of time friends, family don't like quite get it. It's exciting for them, but you need to be able to talk about the shitty stuff and the good stuff and the hard stuff with people. And so surrounding yourself with people who have been in your shoes before. Like I have Eve from Eve's Crackers is amazing, and
Oh,
she's like,
nice.
a couple years ahead of me, and she's helped with like really like immediate what did you do when this happened type thing. I've got Richard from NRC who's just like my full picture, just like I can text him at midnight and be like, oh my God, like I need your help for a second. And then Cindy Buckett who was the CEO at Smart Suites, like she's an operations like whiz. And then I have a Praveen Varshney who's on the money side, who's amazing as well. And having those people to be able to get like you have tunnel vision a lot of time.
Yeah.
So being able to just say, this is what's going on. Can we talk about it? And then talk through some ideas. And it's not for people to guide you. It's for them to just like sit there and help you understand other ways to do things. So I think going at it alone and making decisions either like irrationally or out of fear or things is probably something I would just have some people to chat
Ground
with.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
to ground you.
And that could even be like other founders that are at your same level, or a good little founder group is awesome to just talk about everything.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. And you already kind of said, but so in the next 5 years, where do you see you in Chewy's?
I don't know, man.
500 flavors, every fruit imaginable, with
Oh
3 different
man.
types of chocolate.
Yeah, I would hope that in 5 years we could be in a lot of the west coast of the States, in Canada, growing. There's a lot of good new product development type stuff we think about, but trying to get our snacks, like saving fruit from landfills, getting delicious snacks into people's hands, and growing and trying to get the attention of a bigger player that might love our brand and our voice and help us grow it further.
Would you want to stay on kind of, I mean, one of my goals is to get to the brand to a point and then be acquired to a certain degree, but I'd like to stay on. I love the way it kind of Nick's, how she stayed on and
Yeah.
she's a real force with the brand. That to me is like, when I look at, that's exactly what I would love to do and stay
I
on.
think
Because
that's often how it goes. Like, I think that usually, and I think with Chiwis too, like I'm a pretty big part of the brand, I think,
Yeah.
maybe not, but like Tara kind of did the same thing
Yeah.
with Smart Sweets. And I think they want you on there to
Yeah.
help guide, because it's going to be like a whole new team. But I would love that, but I don't know. It depends, you
Yeah,
know,
that's what I would love to.
when that would happen. You know, I have other ideas. I'd love to, like, I'm gonna probably just keep going with things, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I have no idea. I think me and my team are always just like, oh my God, what will happen next month?
Yeah, I mean, you just never know. Exactly. You just
Yeah.
never
And we
know.
try to plan, you try to plan. It's very hard when you're in like this kind of growth phase too, even with like operationally and with just planning for so many different things, but it's very exciting. Never a dull moment. And I thrive on that. I like the chaos. Again, chaos or sleep.
I operate very well in chaos as well. And so, speaking of chaos, having a company is a very full life, and obviously you're married as well. Do you have any tips for keeping things balanced, if there is such a word that we can use?
Yeah, you know, like when I was in tech, I did burn out. I know what that feels like. And I am very, very lucky to live in Squamish. We have our facility here too. It's like 3-minute drive from my house, which is again, very, very lucky. I tend to, I tell my team, oftentimes they'll get like stressed out and be like, Sarah, I'm like worried about this. I want like everything has to be perfect. And I say to them, like, you shouldn't be stressed out unless I'm stressed out. And I learned from my dad actually, like, to try to just keep calm in situations, and to, I say this to him all the time, I'm like, guys, none of it matters. None of it matters. Like, we're doing something cool. Hopefully it works out. But in the end, like, there's other things that exist other than this. And like a lot of my life is, yeah, Chiwis, and I love working on it and I get so much validation from working on it. But I've had to, like, actually Judy Brooks, who was the chair of Smart
Yeah.
Suites, talked to me about this.
Yeah.
And she was like, because I asked about the whole um like what the lead up to the acquisition and things like that with that. And she was like, yeah, me and Tara made some lists of like what could happen with, what if this happened, what if this happened, and what if this happened. And I did that. And I wrote out like, what if everything, what would be the worst case scenario
Yeah.
here? What would be like a middle? What would be this? And in the end, like, this isn't all what, this isn't my life. It's just like a good huge part of it that I enjoy a lot. But I take, like, I don't feel bad about taking time to go away. This, I just went and hiked into the backcountry this weekend with a bunch of friends, my husband and my dog, and hiked and camped, disconnected. I am taking tomorrow off and going to the bike park in Whistler because it's closing soon. I don't
Yeah.
feel bad about that. Like, I need to be able to go and, like, luckily hike or like go biking or something here. And I am doing that with my team and stuff is great too. But I really don't feel bad about just like getting out,
Time off. Yeah.
because it's so intense when I'm on it. And I do feel so connected, and it's still hard for, like I'm saying it to you, but it's hard for me to like disconnect myself from Chiwis, especially when, you know, you were just saying like someone came up to you and like, oh yeah, I'm so proud of you. We're so online.
Yeah.
And especially when you're seeing acquaintances and stuff, and you're like, oh my fucking God, I just don't want to talk about this right now. Like, what? Can we talk about anything else? But it's so exciting for friends and people to see. Like, it's pretty full blast. And so for me, the balance is going home and trying to not think about it. Being in nature really, really, really helps me. Um, and you know, just in the end being like, if it all failed,
Yeah.
it could be okay. Life would still be okay.
Yeah. Life would be
Don't want
okay.
it to. And I'm saying that now. I'll
Not
probably
going to.
crawl into a
But
ball and who knows, you'll have to check on me. But at this point, I'll stick with that. I don't know. I think it's like, I'm just really trying. My dad is he's such like an inspiration. He's a serial entrepreneur. We co-founded that tech company together.
Oh,
And he's just always said to me, just in all, even with the Costco stuff, I was freaking out about it because it's scary.
oh, yeah, that's
They can
huge.
reject,
That's
they can
huge.
reject stuff, and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, I could lose like many hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he was like, I know this is a huge deal, but you have to just like breathe through it and realize it's not
Yeah.
that big of a deal in the long run. I was like,
Just part of it's a blip in the
it's a
story.
pretty big deal.
I know. In the moment, it's a really big deal, but it's like the blip in the story,
You
right?
know, and so my mental health and my physical health and my relationships, and you know, like, that's just as important.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's easy to say these things, but it's hard to put them in action.
Yeah, no, I get the whole balance thing. It's especially because I have well, 50, she just turned 15 on Saturday. So 15-year-old who feels like she's going on 22, but it's challenging because I find I'll work all day, I'll come home, I want to work more, and then I have to pay attention to her, and I've got to be a mom, and I've got all these other things. And so sometimes I just feel like I'm like in a hamster in a ball, and it's just going, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
just like trying to, and we went away this summer to Greece for 2 weeks. And I was like, I still check emails here and there, but I was like, this is why we had such a fantastic time. We booked Italy for next year. And I'm like, this is one of the reasons I work, is so that I can take 2 weeks and just hang out and have so much fun with her, and, and do things and go on these trips. Like, yeah, have this life that I want to create for myself. I work really freaking hard to create
Yeah.
this, and I need to be able to enjoy it. And it's not, yeah. So I'm getting better at that, and being able to spend money on stuff like her and I to go do something instead of working constantly, which I can easily do. So I have a couple more personal questions and we'll wrap it up. What is the one thing you would tell your 20-year-old self?
So about 20 years ago is when I moved to British Columbia. I'd probably say like best decision of your life.
How old are you? Sorry.
40.
Are you really? I thought you were like in your late 20s, 30s.
It's the
Oh,
no
okay.
children and sleeping. It's funny,
That's
people
what it is.
often where was I at CHFA last year? This girl was like, oh my gosh, like she's a really amazing founder. She's like, you have to apply for this like 30 under 30 thing. And I was like, oh girl, I was like, I am not allowed to do that. And she was like, what? And I was like, I'm 39. And she was like, I thought you were 23. It's like, well, I act like it, but
That's
no,
great.
I know. Often when I tell this story too, I'm like, yeah, well, I like ran this tech company for 7 years, did this. People are like trying to compute, like, oh,
Was she 10 when she started?
yeah, I was 10 years old. I am one of those geniuses. No, I'm
Genius.
not. I am not. I think being active, living in the mountains and
Yeah,
doing what you like to do,
I think
I
that's
love to
something
do.
I
And then like you just get those like blast of stress.
exactly.
Yeah. I just turned 40 in the summer.
Ah, well, there you go. And what are you? What's your sign?
I'm a Leo,
Oh,
classic.
I'm a Leo too. That's why you're amazing.
Just taking charge. Yeah.
That's amazing. So what is the one thing you would tell your 20-year-old self?
You're in the right spot.
There you go. Love that. What inspires you?
Uh, a lot of the people around me that I have, they say keep the people like the 5 people around you. And that's, I've got a lot of amazing humans around me, but these people like my advisors and people who I'm looking up to, and just I've tried to kind of emulate what I see and will to happen, what I see. Like I think that all inspires me. Amazing founders like Karen from Bloom is a friend of mine. She's amazing.
Yeah.
We're competing against her in an award right now that we're going to lose against her for sure. But just, there's so many awesome people that I feel really lucky to know. And so I think that they really inspire me. Yeah.
And what are you most proudest of in your life?
Um, I'm proud of where I live and what I've been able to build with my husband. And, I'm really proud of Chiwis. I would have never thought this would happen like this. Um, yeah, I think it's really cool. Try to step back and be like, good job. But I think it's great that, there's a brand that people can trust, and we're growing it. And I'm got a really cool team around me. And yeah, I'm just like, I honestly think that I became an entrepreneur because I didn't think anyone would hire me for anything.
You created your own job. There you go.
If I didn't create it, I would be unemployed. So I had to. So good for me for making a job that I can now pay myself to do.
That you love to do. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today and chatting with me. So I just want to also, if anybody wants to buy Chewies, tell us, where do you go? Where can you buy them? Following you online?
Sure. So you can buy them online, and it's chiwis.co. So CHIWIS.co. Our Instagram and TikTok is Chiwis _snacks. And we're launching 3 new products. We're launching our orange chips, which are like so amazing already. They're my favorite. But we're doing a white chocolate, a dark chocolate, and a milk chocolate drizzled orange chip for
Yes, I saw
the holidays.
those.
But they're palm oil free chocolate, and we're trying to take on Terry's chocolate orange because
Ooh,
they're full of not great things almost.
really? I didn't know.
Uh,
That's amazing. I was actually thinking of that because I was thinking about the oranges too. That was the chocolate I was thinking of. That's going to be
yeah,
amazing.
so we're doing those three. I like we're really lucky. The chocolate company sent us milk chocolate and white chocolate. And I was like, we had done dark last year just for an online thing, and they're amazing. Everyone loved them. But now we're doing it for retail and online. And we did a drizzle, so it was less chocolate, but you had the whole the whole side of the chip covered. Well, every bite you have chocolate and orange. And that white chocolate, like I'm not even a white chocolate fan, but the combo is outrageous. I'll
Oh,
send you
okay, good.
the bags are going to be printed and done. Like starting to do tests with production here tomorrow, but yeah, we're gonna have them up on the site fairly
Exciting.
soon,
So it's
and
a
by
Christmas,
November.
is it going to be a Christmas release that obviously
Yeah, but
absolutely
I
that.
think people are just gonna be obsessed with them. They're just so delicious. They're not bad for you. And we're paying more for really high quality chocolate.
That's incredible. Well, I
Yeah.
can't wait to try them.
Yeah. And then if you do want to order online, anyone can get a discount with a discount code Chiwis Love, all one word.
You have a great website, by the way. I was on your website
Thanks.
yesterday. It's a beautiful website. It's really well done and really is shopping friendly. It really is appealing. I did a whole website redo this past year, which was a huge venture, but yeah, it's fantastic. It's a really great
Oh,
website.
thanks. Yeah, we when I was looking, I was trying to get someone local to be able to redo our site. And again, like if you just aren't being nitpicky and you're just like, I just want to get this done, you could easily end up spending up to 100K on a website. And
Easily.
I was like, there's just no way. And so that website I think cost us 8 grand, and it was a Vancouver agency that were really great. And we love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looks great. It's
Shopify's easy.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And everybody, go buy some Chewies. I'm going to grab some today when I'm out and about. And thank you so much. And stay tuned for next time, because next time we'll have another amazing person in Friends You Keep. Thanks.
Thank you.